Today, we're talking about a very serious topic, homelessness. And we're joined by the amazing Ryan. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming and kick it with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We want to talk about homelessness because it is a subject matter that is often overlooked. People that have housing and shelter, would you agree that we take things like that for granted at times?
I think most definitely people take housing for granted, and it's very difficult being homeless, especially in LA because it's a dangerous place. And in addition, there's little things that you really don't take consideration of, like how valuable they are, like running water or being able to have access to a bathroom. So I think people don't really appreciate, just having housing and how lucky they are to be able to have a home.
Okay.
Um, if I could just go backwards in time, may I ask? I know it's a bit personal. How did you become homeless?
Okay. I became homeless through a situation. I was living in York, Pennsylvania with my wife, and she basically falsely accused me of holding a gun to her head and forcing her to perform oral sex on me. And because of that false accusation, I ended up spending 11 months in county jail. And after the charges were released, I still ended up having to take a plea agreement for trespassing, even though I was living in my own home with my wife and my kids.
It's crazy.
But I was homeless after that. And I ended up coming to Los Angeles because I lived here before. And I knew because the weather was warmer that it would be better to live here than in Pennsylvania. So
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so my question would be is that how so do you think that just since this, since you say it was a false accusation, do you think that I guess your do you think that your partner should have faced charges or so for basically falsely lying and stuff? Because I feel like that's a different issue that a lot of men run into as well. Like for example, like especially with a lot of celebrity stuff, because some are either true, some are not true. P Diddy is excluded. But for some celebrities, there are women that will accuse men of things that they did not do or had no or thing that they did not do or would never even say even in the same space to even be able to do. Do you think that people should be able to so do you think that the accuser should be facing their
So you're saying like, should your wife
to the
face
same charges?
repercussions for falsely accusing you?
Yeah, and yeah, that too.
I think when there is proof that these charges are false, like in my particular situation, that these allegations were untrue, they couldn't have proved that in a trial. And the fact that I was ready to go to trial, I had to pay a lawyer approximately like $5,000. It was during COVID, so they're pushing back, and using COVID as an excuse, not to take it to trial, and just being able to violate my constitutional rights, my right to a speedy trial. But
Yeah.
I think she should have faced consequences for those false allegations because it's a heinous act.
Yeah, did she?
No,
Okay.
no.
Ryan, when it comes to anyone experiencing homelessness,
Yes.
the population that is not experiencing homelessness, are there certain acts I'll say that were displayed towards you that both either encouraged you and gave you hope that you could actually, this is just a season mentality, and then the other aspect that, you know what, this could be forever because I am unsure and I don't know what's going to happen or who is going to either be that last encounter living on the streets or who could be the first encounter to the last piece of my life.
Well, it's a little bit of both because there were moments where I definitely felt like I'm gonna be in this situation forever. And now, that I'm very close to getting housing is a relief. And there was a moment actually where I did get housing, but then they asked me to leave because of it's a really complicated issue to explore. But I'm a veteran, so I was able to get into a veteran housing period housing at the Salvation Army, but they asked me to leave. after like a month of staying there, which was like kind of, I was thinking like I'm gonna be able to get permanent housing from here, and that didn't happen. And so that was a little bit disheartening. But I think that you have your days like where it's like, sometimes it's hopeful. And I think like, by relying on, I've gotten like a lot closer to God.
Yeah.
And so like that's really helped me out a lot. Like, where I would go to church and, some days and stuff, I might like really just sit there and cry in church, but it would be times where I felt like, very optimistic for a reason, especially like I tried to be active. I tried to be as diligent and hardworking to find resources that would improve my situation, and working like every day to make sure that tomorrow was better than yesterday. And so like I've seen some England that some things are working sometimes, and then there'll be days where nothing's working, everything's going wrong. So
It's your perspective.
right.
Even before you've experienced, oh, let's do it this way. So before you experienced homelessness, your perspective, what was it on life in general?
Oh, I think like, that my perspective before I experienced homelessness, it was just you work hard. I came from like a pretty good background, so I never faced like, that particular situation. I think that I went to college and I tried to do everything right, like as far as, work. And I was working at the time when I was arrested. I had a job, I had money saved, I had a car, I had, a home, I was taking care of my kids. I was doing everything right. And so in my mind, it was hard for me to cope with like, when I was first incarcerated, how did I end up here? And I was trying to do everything right. And where did I go wrong? And I mean, I think like, marrying the wrong woman obviously plays a part in that. Like, someone who doesn't necessarily want to be with you, or where it gets to that point where she wants to make false accusations. And obviously I'm not a psychic, and that was like definitely an immature way for her to handle it. But I'm happy it happened in a way, because God has given me so many other blessings that I wouldn't have experienced had that not happened. So
You would have been constricted by that situation in that season, but in order for you to get to where you are right now, you had to go through that season, right?
most definitely, for sure. Yeah, that's a great way to articulate it.
To piggyback off of Keith, what would you say to the average man that works a 9 to 5? The struggles of that people who are homeless, especially in California, go through on a day to day.
Well, I think one of the good things about being homeless, though, is there are resources and there are wonderful people that are willing to help. As far as food, for instance, there's wonderful places, especially downtown, where you can go get free meals and you don't have to starve. There may be a wait, like, where it's considerable. I like to go over to St. Francis, like by the LA Trade Tech College, and it's run by a Franciscan monk.
Yeah.
And you can get free breakfast, and they give you a sack lunch. And that's very helpful. I also like apply for food stamps, and I get like about $291 in food stamps. They have hot food meals here in California, so like that helps out a lot. Like, where I can go to Denny's, or go like and have a meal and sit down. So
Yeah.
Ryan, I wanted to ask you, is it a possibility or currently that there is more so, whether it's a panel or some type of a activist movement or some type of encouragement or enlightenment movement that you possibly are a part of when it comes to like these resources you're telling me now? I know of them to exist, but for you to sit beside me and say the wonderful thing about homelessness is, my mind was like, he just told me a positive aspect, literally, of experiencing homelessness. So you instantly gave our viewers or whomever is watching that is experiencing homelessness hope. You just, the wonderful thing about, and I was like, wow.
yeah, it's like it doesn't have to be something like, if you find yourself in that situation, that you have to have despair. And I think that there are so many wonderful resources and people out here who are doing the work of God, and you can see the light in their faces, like, that they are offering encouragement and willing to help you in your situation. And give you ideas to be able to get out of it, because there are good resources here, even though as far as like actually finding housing may be difficult, but you can get food, and you can, uh, at least get a tent or something, or, so like you're not in the elements like that. So you can continue to do the best that you can.
I always wonder where the tents come from. Like, where do the tents come from? Pretty sure they probably come from like a non-profit or so. But what do they just
Right. Yeah. They have nonprofits that give away tents,
Okay.
and you could just like look up like, resources. There are places where they'll give you a tent.
Okay. Do you get to like choose a tent or what?
Well, like it's like whatever's available, like what people have donated, and sometimes they're probably like really nice tents, and you can have a tent. Then it's just choosing like where you want to set up.
Right. Okay. Okay. How do you choose where you want to set up?
Well, so for me, the first tent that I had, I ended up setting up like right across from the Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
And like I was there for quite a while, but then they came through and like got rid of all those tents. So like that's like the bad aspect of it, is like, you never know, like, when they're going to
Clean sweep.
clean sweep the tent, or like, there was a time, where I caught people, using my tent to have sex in. So it's like, it's
Why they got to use your tent? Why can't they use their tent?
Well, they can't get their tent dirty now. Don't be
well,
disrespectful.
no, well, I don't know. Like they may not have had a tent. They could have, because there's a lot of people who just come. I set up my tent in Hollywood, so like there's sometimes just people and stuff who come there like mostly for the drugs, not necessarily because they're homeless. They may have a place to stay, but it's not in Hollywood. So like it's
So they use your tent.
yeah. It's,
Right. Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would have charged
Cut
rent
you
for
off.
that tent.
Yeah, I didn't even
That's
know
an
him.
Airbnb. That's an Airbnb tent.
But it's like, I would, so I'll try to like, set up a tent like, somewhere like that, and like, where it's convenient to a metro line, and like, I can still get around and do things like throughout the day. And
Oh yeah. So do you? So I know you say you set up shop across the street from the Chick-fil-A. Is that like did you set up in a way that was like hidden, or like
no, it wasn't hidden. It was at the time, like, there's no tents over there now.
Okay.
But like, when I was there, it was several other tents. So it would be just like, it was quite visible. I think that's probably why they eventually got rid of the tents, because like obviously I don't know what the rent is over there, but I'm sure it's probably pretty high. People got tired of seeing people living in their tents. So
Yeah. Why they getting charged rent?
Ryan, I want to ask you, what has surprised you the most about being homeless? And this is a two-part question. And has your views on our government changed, or do you look at the American society differently now, considering your circumstances?
well, being a veteran, I for sure look at the lack of empathy and compassion of the VA. And I think like, that they really don't care about veterans. And even like, saying that, like, with the possibility that I may be getting housing soon, it doesn't seem like it's a sense of urgency for them to help veterans get off the street. And I understand why, like, Trump laid off like so many veterans, because there was a period where I was told that I wasn't a veteran. And like, I had my DD 214, and I'm sitting here arguing with a lady and stuff, explaining to her that I am a veteran. And it had to do with like, being arrested, and like they had put in a felony fugitive warrant, even though like, I've been captured and dealt with that case and all of that, like, but they basically like, had me listed as not a veteran, and eventually that was corrected, but I could have had housing way sooner. And it just seemed like the VA wasn't really cooperative in that manner, and caused like, some of the hardship for benefits that I actually was entitled to. This wasn't something like, where I'm asking for a handout. This is what you agree to when you decide like, I'm willing to serve, to give my life for this country. So
Yeah.
I mean, as that aspect of it. And then also like, even here, history, LA County, if you look up, they have a history of just stealing money. You could look up at the past, like, county supervisor, Mark Ridley Thomas, how he's stolen money from like LA County and just all these people. It just seems like they get these positions to steal and not actually help homeless people. And I've seen like, some people be able to get off the street. So I do know like the resources happen and it works for them, but it just seems that there's a lot of bureaucracy that doesn't need to be there. And a lot of people who aren't in the positions that shouldn't be there. They're there for a check as opposed to actually helping people.
Ryan, how could someone that's not experiencing homelessness be more either considerate or, I guess, helpful to someone who is experiencing homelessness, whether you know them or you don't know them? Let's say we've seen someone on the street. How is someone walking past or just living their day to day be helpful in that manner?
Well, I think that treating people like human beings. I think that one of the things that I see a lot is where people who are homeless and they're just kind of like not seen in society, where people will act like they're not a human being or like, treat people. Look how people treat their dogs and how much money they're willing to spend on taking care of their dogs. Like, why don't you have like that same compassion for humans? And it just seems that the idea is that sometimes people have made bad choices in their life and that's why they're homeless, but that not isn't necessarily the case. Sometimes people get dealt really bad cards. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a good point too.
Yeah, because
I think
normally
we've seen-
when I'm driving or walking and I'm doing whatever I'm doing, it's fascinating you said that because I'll see someone experiencing homelessness and I'll say, I see you. Whether I give them something or I don't, or whether they hear me or they don't, I'm like, I see you. And look them in their face because a lot of them they're at that position to where though I'm pretty sure they're vulnerable and or embarrassed or feel some type of way that they're asking of something and everyone's like don't see you walking past glasses but it's just like you said, to make it more human as well. I see you. I mean, I have anything to offer you, but I see you.
Right.
And I salute the divinity in you, and I know this is a season. But is there something? Let's say there was a time, and this was funny to me at the time. Once it happened, I laughed. But in the beginning, there was a homeless man. I passed him. I turned back around. All I had was an apple when I left set. I said, "Okay, damn, I'm about to go back to my home that's protected inside away from the elements. And I have abundance. Let me give him this apple." Now it turned around. I'm gonna give him the apple. He put it in his mouth. I was like, you can eat the apple. And
no teeth.
yeah, he didn't have any teeth. So I was just like, oh my gosh. Like sometimes it's like, well, what do I give? Like I have an extra bottle of water. Some have told me, oh, I don't want the food. So I'm like, okay, well, you want just the money? But I've given money to someone experiencing homelessness. And then when I was living in Philadelphia, I would see every week in high school, I would give this one specific homeless person my allowance. And as I did that, my cousin told me to stop. He said, "Stop giving them your allowance." And I said, "No, because they don't have what I have, and I'm working, but my parents don't know. It's okay. They think I'm just putting money away or I'm just buying bubble gum, but I'm giving it to these homeless people, right?" I would see this homeless person changing their hair color, doing whatever it was, different clothes, and my cousin was like, "She's just using it for whatever." But in my mind, I was like, "Well, if that's what makes her feel, I guess, good or human, then let her do it. I'm not going to deter from it." Now I stopped giving money because after a while I was like, okay, wait a minute, y'all. I'm not sure if the money is going to be better because I don't know what you're going to do with it. I don't want to assume it's for drugs, but if I give you food, maybe I can help nourish you. Maybe I can help you get water, or I have a bag of clothes in my trunk. Take the whole bag here. So it confuses me sometimes, Ryan, when they're like, I don't want that. What do you say to that?
Well, I understand that because sometimes someone will offer you something and just like, I'm not in need of it. I really don't feel like food is really hard to get, especially how many resources there are. And there's been times where I've eaten and people have come up, like when I had the tent across from Chick-fil-A and this lady bought me a whole bag of Chick-fil-A food, and I'll take it
Wouldn't be mad.
because it's like, I know you're trying to do something nice and I'll try to give it to somebody who is hungry, but I'm not really hungry. I know I'm out here and you're just trying to help. I'm not going to turn down like your generosity, but like I understand like sometimes It's not what necessarily people need, and that's it could be in your life, your own life, where sometimes somebody is offering you something that maybe would be a blessing, but you don't really have room for that blessing right now, or maybe that's not really what you need. So I think it's really based on need.
Can I ask you, Ryan, how has being homeless affected your mental health?
It's been tough. I I feel it's I see how people could lose their sanity. I like being out here on these streets because you see some horrific things. You question a lot of the things that you've been taught in society, and I've it's tough about as far as like the mental health aspect of it, because like it's just like it makes you question a lot of things, and it can really tear at your sanity. But I feel like in a way it's also made me more resilient.
Okay. How are you feeling mentally today?
I feel really good today. And I think like, a lot of that is due to the fact that I've, had like a little bit of success, like, on social media. And then also, I was invited to be on this podcast. So it's something positive to be a part of. And also just like, the weather seems to be getting a little bit better as opposed to the rain that we've been experiencing. So like when the weather is better, that definitely helps as well.
Okay. Because you've been you've been going through these under these circumstances. What do you feel needs to happen to either prevent homelessness or help those that are in need of homes or shelter? What do you feel either, i.e., it be the president, Congress, or just our government as a whole, could or should be doing?
Well, I see that there's a lot of people who need mental health services. And I think that it should be easier access to mental health. I think that there's a lot of times that I've seen things on the street, and it seems that people are very affected by mental health, and it seems that these people need help, and that it would be like, really nice if they had someone to intervene and help them. It just seems that society is either overlooking them or not necessarily caring about their situation. And it seems that they should be able to get access to help if they need it. And I think that it shouldn't be so difficult to be able to get housing for people who do want it. And I think that it should be easier. Housing should be more affordable. I think like it was absurd that the way rent is in California, people who have jobs are struggling. So I think that's something that we could do right now, where we make housing more affordable for everybody, not just the people on the street, so people can be able to save more money. And that's something that I feel could be done.
I agree. I agree.
Would you say, at least you said you are a religious man?
Yes, yes, sir.
Would you say religion have helped you ease through your day to day?
Yes. So one of the things I like to do is like I call the prayer line, and I might call that like 5 times a day. And that has really made a difference. I like to go to church. I've been going to Good Shepherd, which is a Catholic church in Beverly Hills. And I I feel like, it just really helps me. It gives me like a little bit more confidence that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And like, even though there are times where I felt alone, by praying and going to church, it makes a difference. I feel like sometimes that God has actually came into my situation. I see his presence more now than ever. But like there was a period where I'm asking, like, and I'm calling to him, and I'm like wondering, is he there? Is he left me? Is he does he care about me?
Yes.
So
And I might get a little bit personal on that, so forgive me. But do you still see your kids?
yeah, so like, my wife eventually moved out here, so I do see my kids, and I've been seeing them, and it's been rough. Uh I feel like, because of that time away, like, our relationship isn't the same, and so I'm trying to rebuild that relationship and just kind of be a present father as much as I can. She still is very difficult
Yeah.
when it comes to seeing my kids, but when I get housing, one of my first agenda is to fight for custody and be able to have that in writing. And You know,
Okay.
And I know this is our first time meeting and you appearing on the show. I want to say that I genuinely believe that you're a good person doing the very best that you can with what you have. I want to say that I applaud you for that. I know that life isn't easy and we navigate how we navigate through things. So I just want to say, give yourself a pat on the back
Yes.
for even getting up trying, because there's some people that would rather just lay there and expect, and don't get me wrong, we all have stories and we want to be saved, but sometimes we have to do the work to save ourselves. And I can see you doing that. So I just want to say, give yourself a pat on the back for that.
thank you. And one of the things I would like to say about that though, but life can be so hard and disappointing, and I understand it why some people give up. And like, where people experience hardships and feel it's probably better for me just not to try. And I kind of didn't understand that mentality, but after seeing some of the things I've seen, I could understand it. And like, I would encourage people like, never to give up and put their trust in Jesus Christ, but everybody doesn't do that. So
I agree. I agree.
What do you think your biggest challenge with being homeless was? Say it's 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night or so. What do you think your biggest challenge of being homeless was? What are your fears? What are stuff that you're worried about?
So my biggest fear honestly was having to use the bathroom at night and no toilets being available. That would be that was the worst. And besides that, like, random acts of violence, God has really protected me and shielded me. And I've seen random acts of violence on the street and how things can go from 0 to 100 really quick. There's been one time because I do street blogging where I had to fight two guys over my phone because I basically had recorded them. Like, this girl had rejected them, like she was twerking outside their car. They were gang members, and like they basically she rejected them, like, basically, why are you talking to me? And it was really embarrassing for them. And they saw that I was recording. They were like, you need to delete that now. And like, they came and like, basically took my phone, and we're tussling over the phone right there on Hollywood Boulevard. And my phone is pretty much my lifeline because it's like how I get around. And so I wasn't gonna let them take my phone. That was another instance where I recorded this guy.
Well, actually, how did you protect yourself or in that?
Well, you want details.
Yeah, like, how did you end that? How did you end that situation? Because
Well, like I ended up dragging him to the ground, and we're just wrestling over the phone, and it just got to the point where he realized I wasn't letting go of the phone, and he ended up getting in a vehicle, and then it just drove away.
Okay.
And it was another time where I actually recorded a video where this guy was arguing with his girlfriend. It was like kind of another situation, and he, I guess, felt that was invading their privacy, which I was, but I wasn't breaking any laws because, like, obviously you can record.
Well, exactly. So you weren't breaking any laws then.
Yeah, so like he came and he was he attacked me, but I was more so concerned about my phone and my laptop. So it was like, I was just letting this guy hit me because it's like he wasn't, he's upset that I'm recording him, but like I'm just worried about like my phone getting hurt or my
So you let him hit you? I mean,
yeah, because like I didn't want
to just to kind of like let him get the anger out and just go away or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Was he bigger than you or was he smaller than you?
He was about the same size. He might have been like a little bit more heavy set, like as far as that, but his punches didn't hurt. I was more concerned about my laptop getting damaged or my phone getting damaged.
He just called him soft. He said he was.
I mean, I was trying
big and heavy set, tall and heavy set, so his punches ain't hurt. All I thought was like an airbag with a Michelin Man, like, and you're like, oh, all right,
stop doing that,
Ryan.
I was trying to gauge like the picture. So
we got you, Ryan. I want to ask you, during times and challenges that are difficult, such as these, we tend to lean on our loved ones, whether it be family or friends. Where have they been through this ordeal for you?
I would say just pretty much non-existent. I think that people, I've really just had to rely on myself and strangers. I think those have been like, I've experienced the most help from strangers. I was fortunate. when I first came to Los Angeles, I met this guy who was actually from here, from South Central, and he was a rapper. And like one of the things we bonded over our shared love of music. I met him at the Tupac Star ceremony, and he basically like helped me by like allow me to get a shower like at his home. He had a so like things like that, and he gave me some clothes, and made sure like that I was like I had stuff that I needed. So
Do you have friends? Do you have friends like in I guess in the homeless community, or is it easy to make friends in the homeless community? Is it easy to like kind of make bonds over that? And do other homeless are there other homeless that are jealous of other homeless people?
so
Like jealous of what they might have. Like some people might have more than the other. Some people might have more food or so.
well, I would say that I I did make friends like but they ended up like not necessarily being homeless, and I think that there can be sometimes if you have something that somebody wants, like that could be a thing that inspires jealousy, whether you're homeless or not. Like I think that people will try to take from you if they feel that it would be to their benefit.
Okay.
I think like that definitely homeless people steal from other homeless people.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a cell phone or like or whatever it is, or clothing or anything of that nature. So you have to watch your stuff for sure.
Right. How do you keep all that stuff secure, especially in a tent? Like how do you?
I travel light, so like I don't really carry a whole lot of things. Like that book bag like I have, like that's the most and stuff I'll ever have with me.
Okay.
I like I see like a lot of homeless people where they carry like all these possessions and stuff, but I don't really feel like how could I get around if I'm carrying all this stuff, or if I'm accumulating too much stuff. And if I'm accumulating stuff, I give it away, or I just realize I can't keep this because it's gonna be too hard to
Right.
be mobile.
Okay.
Are there any items, Ryan, that you have that you will not ever give away, or they will never take away from you?
That cell phone.
Yeah, just
Besides the cell phone, because that's
just
you know.
my cell phone and
Okay.
and my laptop.
Those
so
two.
yeah, those
Okay.
those are the most important thing. And I have some documents, like I have my birth certificate
Yeah.
and stuff like that, which helps. But
Got you.
yeah, like I with everything else, like is just pretty much expendable. I feel like my laptop and my important documents.
Those
Do you
are-
believe, as a veteran,
especially
that your
the cell phone.
combat experience also?
Well, I didn't serve in combat, but
Okay. All right. I was about to say, also serves you justice on the streets, because I mean,
it
could be
does.
wild. You said.
It does give me I did learn skills like in the military. I feel that helped, and I think that one of the things is like learning to think outside of the box, because you see certain situations, and I think I look at it differently than another person would, and you can apply it and make the situation work for you. So
I wanted to go backwards just a little bit, if I may. You mentioned that you didn't have any family or anyone that was there for you during this ordeal. How does that feel? Because oftentimes when we go through these trials and tribulations in life, I think it's fair to say sometimes we expect certain people to show up for us, and when they don't, we kind of, and to some regard, we feel a bit disappointed. How do you feel going through something like that, knowing that you do have family, but that maybe they aren't available to show up, or they just don't want to show up? Do you get to a point in place in life where you start to feel this is where I separate family from relatives, friends from acquaintances? Like, how do you deal with that, if you don't mind me asking?
I love people, and I realize like everybody isn't able to help, or like may not understand your journey, because like I think there's a lot of I don't judge people. If people can help, they can. If they can't, they can't. I don't hold it against them. I think that it's different if like people are in front of you and they're able to help, and they see like the seriousness of your situation. But I don't really judge people like necessarily, like if it's a difference, like I guess, of like people have the means and the ability to help, as opposed to not being able to help, if that makes sense, like, where it's like you're asking them to help, and it would necessarily make life harder for them.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, go ahead. I
yeah,
didn't
so like
cut you off
I
at all.
think, like, it's just it would be different. Like if I have you know hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're hungry, and I know you, and you're my family member, and you ask me for $10, that's a little bit difference between if you working a 9 to 5, and you only have, like, hundreds of dollars every week, and you're in a stuck budget, you don't really have it to spare. Maybe you could, like, help a little, but so, like, I mean, it just depends on the situation and stuff. But, like, I don't hold anything against anybody. I've asked for help. There's been times and stuff, like, I asked my brother, for $10 for, like, a lift to get to a actual paying acting job. So, like, he wasn't able to do it. I don't hold it against him. So.
And I think that that's a very good spirit to have, because it is challenging at times when you go to people, as you stated a moment ago, who may be in a position to do it. And I've seen it on both sides of the fence, where some people, honestly, they can't, because they're trying to keep their heads a bit above water themselves. But then there are people that I've witnessed that will be like, yeah, I got it, but I'm not giving, or I'm not doing for other people. I don't know. For me, it rubs me a little bit differently, because, and that's just, I'm built differently. So I look at it like, if I'm in a position where, even if I don't have, or even if I'm in a position where maybe I can't give you everything that you're asking for, but if I can do something, i.e., it doesn't always have to be money. It could just simply be someone to talk to, just someone in your corner when you need them the most.
And I feel like God has sent people like that, to help me, like my friend Jelani, who I was talking about. And then it was this girl who was actually an adult film star. Her name was Amar Rumani. She passed away, but, like, she let me borrow her car for, like, a month, and I stayed in her car, and she would send me money. So, like, I had gas, and I was able to get around and do things. And it was like, that kind of generosity. Everyone's not built like that, or necessarily willing to help people, but, like, I appreciated that. And a lot of people, like, talk down about 304s, OnlyFans models, or adult film stars, but I really had an appreciation, because she had a good heart.
Yeah, and tell you the truth, like I said, she sounds like she's the one that actually put up, and a lot of people won't do that. So
Yeah.
hey, that's plenty of respect for somebody. Somebody gave away something that they could have used on themselves and gave it to you.
Yeah.
which is very loving. That's very
That's
thoughtful.
thoughtful.
As a guy that has a military background, why not re-enlist, since that would in a way solve your, in terms of a homeless issue, since re-enlisting, what is it, 2-year contract?
So that was something I looked into. So I'm 42. So
Oh, yeah.
like, past, like, the minimum age, but that was something that I was looking into, talking to recruiters about. And just, like, as far as it was it was a little difficult. I did talk to recruiters, but it just seemed like it would be more of a, it's a lot of bureaucracy with that.
Yes.
It's not like, it's just like, when you've previously been in the service, they have, like, a lot of different rules in place necessarily. Like, if you served in, like, this service, then you can't enter this service, or, so it's just like, it was something that I explored, but it didn't ultimately work out. I didn't pursue it. So.
Okay.
John, I'm sorry. Ooh, lost my train of thought for a second. Ryan, I want to ask you, I have a different perspective now, because when you're in your car and you ride down the street and you see people going through these ordeals, oftentimes you may ride past it. Sometimes you may not think a whole lot of it, but listening to your story, it really breaks my heart that you have to go through this, and that our government isn't in a better place or willing to do more, because they have the resources. They just aren't making them readily available to people like us. But now, seeing people going through circumstances like this, it just makes me appreciate everything that I have. Even we look at life sometimes and we go, I don't have this, and I want this, and I feel like my life is just rock bottom on the ground. But then you look and it comes back full circle, and you say, but it's the small things that we may take for granted that other people are like, I wish I had. Like, I wish I had a car. I wish I had a place to shelter, a friend, family member, just somebody there. So I want to say I appreciate you coming here sharing that experience it's uplifting in more ways than I can explain. Where are you today with your homelessness, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I feel like I'm in a positive place. You know, it's been really rough, like as far as like the last couple weeks, just with the weather, especially like the days when it rains. But besides that, I've applied for housing. I have a meeting on Monday at the VA to get approved for Section 8 housing. God willing, that goes well. I've experienced immense success in the last couple of weeks because of my YouTube channel and gotten something like, I think I did a video where it got like 15 million views. So like it's monetized and everything. So like I'll be getting a payout, my first payout, and like that money will be able to help. And so like I feel very optimistic that my situation is turning for the better, even if I don't get the housing. So
Oh yeah.
What words of encouragement could you leave with anyone who just needs to be uplifted?
just continue trying, be persistent, stick to itiveness. I think that you have to like, get up every day and do your best. And even the times when it doesn't work out, and it is really great to have a higher power and faith in Jesus Christ. That's really made a world of difference for me. And I think that I have a closer relationship. So I feel a lot more resilient and ready for whatever.
Okay.
Thank you for
And
that, Ryan.
yeah, before we let you go, can you share how and where people can find you online?
Yeah, so like I have a YouTube channel. It's at Ryan Glover 5129. I'm also on Instagram, Ryan Glover 187, on TikTok, Ryan Glover 18, and Twitter, Ryan Glover 1982.
Okay.
Well,
That's a lot of numbers.
We thank you so much. I want to say that I'll be praying for you. You are strong. You're resilient. I strongly believe that the universe is working everything out for you right now. And I really genuinely want to say thank you for sharing your story, because it's so much that's happening in the world and we get distracted by the things that aren't really important. And it's things like these that really hit home, stories that people need to hear that will translate. So I just want to say thank you again for taking time out of your day. You could have been anywhere. You're going through so much, but you decided to come here and give us your time. And we just want to say we thank you and we appreciate it and we don't take it for granted.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Most definitely.
Anytime,
Most definitely.
anytime.